It's almost 7 o'clock, so I'm getting ready to take this sign-up sheet. If there's anybody that still wants to sign up to speak, they're still down here right now.
Well, let me see. Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call to order the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors called meeting budget public hearings Thursday, March 28th, 2024, 7 p.m. Board meeting room at 39 Bank Street, Southeast, Chatham, Virginia. Ms. McCluster, would you call a roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Mr. Dudley?
Present.
Mr. Height?
Here.
Mr. Ingram?
Here.
Mr. Whittle?
Here.
Mr. Tucker?
Here.
Mr. Dalton?
Here. Moving to item 3, are there any items to be added to the agenda? Not hearing any, we'll move to item 4. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Tucker,
Second.
second by Mr. Ingram. Any further discussion on the motion? If none, we're ready to vote. All right, motion carries unanimous. Moving to item 5, our public hearings. Each person addressing the board under the public hearing shall step up, give his or her name and district and his or her place of residence for non-county citizens in an audible tone of voice for the record, and unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. Speakers for the group should be limited to 10 minutes. Speakers should conclude their remarks at that time unless the consent of the board affirmatively gives the extended speaker allotted time. Absent chairman approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. And before we get started, I'd like to say welcome and thank everyone for being here tonight. We've got 3 budget hearings. We have our time limit set, and I'm just asking everybody to be respectful for the next person that wants to speak. say what you need to say, and we'll move on to our next speaker. And with that, I'm going to move to 5A, and I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:04 for the Pennsylvania County School Budget hearing. Are any remarks from you, Mr. Terrell?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. McCluster, do we have some people signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. Shelby Alcorn.
Welcome, ma'am.
Hello. Shelby Alcorn, Bannister District. Am I good to go?
Is your mic on?
Oh, yeah.
Make sure we can hear you.
Is that good?
Outside. Okay,
Okay.
good.
Shelby
Thank
Alcorn, Bannister District.
you. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelby Alcorn, and I am a special education teacher and a head coach at Gretna High School. First and foremost, I'd like to start off by saying that all of our schools are accredited. We are an accredited division, yet we are paid like we are not. As a young teacher who wanted nothing more than to be a teacher, it has been incredibly difficult to stay afloat mentally, emotionally, and financially. Pennsylvania County, excuse me. Pennsylvania County is the lowest paid county in the state of Virginia, and we will continue to have teacher shortages if that does not change. The county will see an increase in burnt-out teachers if we continue to not receive the support that we demand and deserve from our higher-ups. We are in the classroom taking care of business, and we are not being taken care of. Frankly, we are being taken advantage of. Teachers are forever being asked to do more and more and more while we continue to get less. Going along with salary increases, we must fix our insurance rates. How can insurance for a married couple start at $660, but when you add one more person, it jumps to $1,500? I don't know about the rest of y'all, but that's more than half of my monthly salary. I know a single mom who is afraid of getting a pay raise because then her 2 children will lose their Medicaid insurance, which covers everything from medical, dental, and mental health needs at little to no cost to the mother. Our current insurance plan is unaffordable for any family. Other surrounding counties actually pay for their teachers' insurance. Henry County, for example. We need to fix our insurance rates, or you are going to continue to see teachers jump ship to different counties and schools. Coaches' pay must change as well. How can a coach be in the system for 20 years and still have the same pay as when they first started? They have all that experience, all that knowledge, and the county is paying them like they are nobodies. Nothing is the same as it was 20 years ago, so why is the salary still the same? How can you expect coaches to continue to put in the effort and all the time that they do when you will not increase the pay? Coaches that are knowledgeable in their specific sport in this county are extremely hard to find because of pay. Other counties have steps for coaches like they do for teacher pay. That makes sense. That gives the coaches something to work towards and for them to stay in coaching longer. The economy will crash within a year or two, and all spending will be frozen for a few more years. It is my prediction that we will not be given another opportunity to get what we deserve as an accredited division for a few more years.
30 seconds remaining.
Therefore, if we do not see an increase in money, you will continue to see a decrease in teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman. Darrell,
Yes.
I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but I got one question I'd like to ask her.
We can't ask them, not tonight, not doing the public hearing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chris Ferris.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm Chris Ferris, Standing River District. I'm just a regular citizen, coach Little Youth Sports. Let's start off. As she said, Pennsylvania County schools, all schools are accredited. Several schools have been recognized by the state. Our VOTEC Center has been recognized on the state level and national level. They're getting the job done. What's the reasons for teacher shortages and support personnel shortages? One, becoming a teacher is not attractive anymore. They're not supported. And let's be honest. The mandated SOL curriculum, the time scheduling for it, and teachers, you know, the pace and guide you got to keep up with. Nitty-gritty stuff, benefits, Current teacher salary, this is from 0 to 30 years, Pittsylvania County, $43,681 your starting salary, up to 30 years, $65,542. Halifax County, $45,654 to $71,453. Additionally, for Halifax County, supplement for master's degrees, $2,186. If you're an education specialist, that's $3,279 extra. If you got a doctorate's degree, that's another $4,372 tacked onto that. In addition to that, for Halifax County, the school system pays the employees' health insurance premium. Let's move to Henry County. Starting salary, $48,000 today, up to 30 years, $67,104. Their proposal for this year, for next year's budget year, is for a 5% increase for their teachers, which would bring their range to $50,671 to $71,459. And as she said, they pay for the employees' health insurance as well. Let's talk about bus drivers, the shortage we got. Bus drivers running 2, 3, and 4 routes. Pittsylvania County, the daily rate is $75.79. Henry County, for example, is $117.84. They are trying to get a 7% increase, which brings their total to $126.08. And I've got more where this bonus has been paid through Henry County last year and this year. Just one more thing real quick. Based on the local composite index, it's already been mandated by the state. This year's total budget, school board budget.
3 minutes is complete.
Is not enough to make enough for the money that you're going to need for next year's budget just to make bare minimum. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
Jim Scares. Okay. John O'Mara. Ms. Kazee is going to bring the mic to him so that he doesn't have to come down in the front.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good evening. My
Well-
name is John O'Mara, and I live in Gretna, Virginia. And I just have a very brief comment about the school budget. And that is, I think it would bring a lot of meaning to the budget information that's been provided to the citizens if there was average daily attendance data included in that data package. Because I was surprised to learn that the budget is down by $5 million, and I was thinking, well, it's got to be reduced enrollment. And apparently that is a major factor in it. But I think that information should be provided to the users. The other thing that I think is critically important, please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and that is the percentage of the school budget that's included in the overall budget request should be set forth. And I didn't really have an opportunity to get the comprehensive package before the meeting, but it would help me to know of the proposed $5.90 per thousand, how much of that is related to the operation of the schools. And in closing, I will just say that I don't think there's anything more important or predictive of our future success than education and our schools and our young people. So with that, that's the end of my comments.
Thank you, sir.
That's everyone for that public hearing.
For that one, okay. Thank you, Mr. McCluskey. At 7:14, I'll close the public hearing for the school board. Moving to item 5B. At 7:14 PM, I'll open the public hearing for the FY 225 county budget public hearing. Any further remarks, Mr. Terrell, anyone?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone signed up, Mr.
Yes,
McCluskey?
sir. John Owen Jr.
Welcome, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Gentlemen, I'm here tonight to complain a little bit about this budget. Apparently, some things just are plumb out of reason. Apparently, our fired registrar was doing a great job because this new one, it wants a lot more money, 28% increase. So let's bring back the old one. And legal services, we're paying like Donald Trump, $390,000, up 14%. Public safety, I'm all for the sheriff's department, but this year, they're gonna have $304,000 left over, proposed. I can't find that in the revenue for the next year. Do they get to keep that money? And then you're going to add another $1 million to it over what they're actually spending? That $304,000 should have been revenue for next year. They should have turned it back in. The new positions that they want, the SRO, I guess, they have enough vacant positions, funded vacant positions, to cover those 4 positions, plus the $118,000 in overtime expenses. They have bukus of unfunded positions, enough so that they're going to have $304,000 left. So let's get realistic with our budget. Stay in line, fund the schools, cut somewhere else. I don't know all the details, but schools have to be our #1 priority. My children are graduated, but my grandkids still go to school. Let's fund the schools and cut some of these other requests. This is not, they don't have to have this money, but let's cut where we possibly can. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
John O'Mara.
Carry him the mic.
My name is John O'Mara, and I live in Gretna. First of all, I want to take the time to call out Stuart Terrell and Kim, who have taken my telephone calls on numerous occasions long in advance of this meeting. And particularly in the case of Stuart, every time he and I talked, we talked way past 5 p.m. So you're getting your money's worth from these people. That I want to tell you. And I do appreciate the fact that they've taken the time to help educate me. With respect to the budget, if I had to describe it in one word, frankly, I would say that it was broken. Something is wrong when we have a budget that is asking for a 40% increase in the tax rate. And I don't really yet, because I'm just new to Virginia, so I don't totally understand the entire process. But what we have here is a very substantial budget for public safety, which I assume includes the sheriff's department and the fire department, et cetera. And yet, we have 2 very important factors that were not mentioned anywhere in the budget that I saw. and that is we have declining population. And in the last 10 years, the population of Pittsylvania County has gone down by, headed towards 6%. I think it was 5.7%. So I can extrapolate from that there should be a lower demand for services, and yet our budget is, there's a kind of a card game going here where, hey, we reduce the tax rate by 3 cents and we increase the assessed valuation by 48%, and that translates to an increase for residential properties of over 40% in 1 year. And I say 1 year because if I understand it correctly from Kim, you guys do an annual budget every year, so there should never be a need.
30 seconds remaining.
There should never be a need for a 40% increase in the budget. The other thing that I want to talk about is the fundraising activities of the fire and rescue departments, because they are actively raising large sums of money that are not included anywhere in the budget, and there's insufficient accountability to the county for what's going on with their fundraising activities. And I think the Board of Supervisors would be well advised to get their hands around that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Ben Davenport.
Welcome, Mr. Davenport.
Good evening, Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir.
Ben Davenport, Chatham, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to address you all about the budget. So I don't know, a lot about the details of how you're spending money, but I do know about what the needs of the county are. My wife and I have lived here all of our lives, and I've enjoyed having our businesses here. It's been a great place to operate a company, different companies. So I've enjoyed working with the Institute as it has blossomed into a major asset for the future growth and development of our region. And while the county has expanded the critical services to its citizens in many areas, the one that involves medical first response stands out. Those of us who live in close proximity to one of the rescue squads bases have seen the value of a quick response and quality immediate care. As you know how you have touched, it's just the tip of the iceberg in the expense of providing such care for all of the citizens of Pittsylvania County. There will need to be an all-out effort to provide EMT training and a recruitment to get people into the program. And the pay is going to have to be attractive. But we as citizens need this countywide. I remember well my mother having a heart attack several years ago, and when he was all strictly volunteer, and I sat by our bedside outside of Chatham for over 2 hours before a squad was finally found to pick her up. And then all they could do, they didn't know anything other than just to transport her to the hospital. So we've been blessed with volunteer fire departments that will come and we all know that that's coming to an end because their volunteers are fewer and fewer. So we're going to be paying for things in that area, and I'm just saying that you're going to have to be looking out front about what fire and rescue are need. So we're in the cusp of a major employment expansion in our region. If we're going to take full advantage by increasing our local population with these employees, new homes would need to be built, and this requires investments in utilities, schools, and other support. Also in public space such as park and recreational fields, people are attracted to where there are amenities. And so all this being said, I could say a lot more, but this covers the direction that I'm headed. And no one wants to pay more taxes, but there are so many things only government can do for us today. Inflation has taken its toll. I can tell you now that I bought a front-loader garbage truck 5 years ago that cost me $270,000. that same truck today cost me over $400,000. Our money's just not, our labor rates and our cost of benefits have gone up dramatically. We all see this in every area of our lives. So we need to fund Pennsylvania County with sufficient funds to provide for the overhead you now have and in the future needs as we best can. Growth and prosperity of our county will depend on how we invest for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Davenport.
Jim Scares.
Welcome, Mr. Scares.
Welcome, Jim.
Good evening. My name is Jim Scares, and I live in the Westover District. I'm here tonight to talk about this budget and against the historic property tax increase. In the report on Channel 7 News, the reporter quoted the county administrator as saying the reason for this increase was mainly due to the recent 1-cent sales tax. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we were told the 1-cent sales tax would raise funds for our schools' capital improvements and would alleviate the need to raise our property taxes. To now blame this historic tax increase on a 1-cent sales tax is the most asinine claim I have ever heard and tells me the county administrator doesn't have a clue what he is doing. There are several things about this proposed budget and the property tax increases that don't make sense to me. First off, I recently found out that the county has an outstanding delinquent tax figure, both personal and property, of $5,691,783. What's being done to collect those delinquent taxes? Secondly, the Strata Solar Farm project is projected to bring in around $42 million in revenue to the county over the life of the contract. Third, the Mountain Valley Pipeline is projected to go online in the second quarter of this year. It will net the county between $1.2 and $2 million a year in revenue. This proposed budget is $6,145,466 more than last year's budget, but when you subtract the $3.5 million from the 1-cent sales tax that's included in the capital projects section, the real increase is around $3 million. And the real winners of this budget are the fire and rescue agencies who are getting over $2 million of that. This historic tax increase is projected to bring in around $8.5 million. My question is, with a proposed budget increase of around $3 million, where's the rest of the money going and why the need for this historic property tax increase? In closing, I would like to leave this board with the words of Mahatma Gandhi. 7 blunders of the world that lead to violence: wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, worship without sacrifice, politics without principle. Several of these apply to this board, and serious thought needs to be given to those in this community on fixed incomes that will be devastated by this historic tax increase. Thank you, gentlemen. And by the way, if y'all go through with this 5.59 cents, I have recall petitions for people from every district, and we will be recalling you if you don't bring it down closer to the 40s. Thank you.
Willie Fitzgerald.
Welcome, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Good evening, Chairman Dahl and board members. My name is Willie Fitzgerald. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. That's good.
And I'm a lifelong resident of Pennsylvania County. And I represent the Bannister District School Board. And I'm proud and happy to represent them. But I want to talk in conjunction with the school budget, and I realize the school budget goes to make up the general budget for the county. But we have a school board budget that is, from my understanding, coming from the General Assembly, $2 or $3 million less than what we received last year. We need to understand that our legislators in Richmond need to do a better job towards our school system that would help our overall budget. We are approximately 30-some teachers short this year. We were short on bus drivers, custodians, and whatever, but we survived with our teachers and staff doing an excellent job to promote and pass and exceed the state average on SOL testing in every category. I have before me right now a study that was did in 2022 of there being 132 school districts in the state of Virginia. Pennsylvania County ranked number 96, and we get approximately $10,380 per student from the General Assembly. There are only 3 districts in the state of Virginia that get less than what we get for our students. But yet and still, we have the largest territory in the state of Virginia, in Pennsylvania County, to cover. We got 4 high schools and elementary schools. We cover approximately 1 million miles a year for bus transportation or whatever. We need the General Assembly to do a better job with whatever this formula is that we are using that says we are capable of paying more taxes this year than we were 2 years ago. Something is wrong coming from the General Assembly, and we need to be careful who we elect to represent our county in Richmond.
30 seconds remaining.
This is a copy, if you want to see it, that I was speaking of, that every school of the 132 school districts in the state of Virginia are doing better than what we are doing towards our students and teachers. And if we don't do better, as someone has said, we're going to continue to lose students, and not students, but teachers and faculty. And down the road, we're going to be suffering. Last but not least, I want to speak on the jail.
3 minutes is complete.
The jail that's being talked about. We started talking about that 10 or 15 years ago. If the board had done what they should have, we wouldn't have the problem that we have now with kicking the can down the road. And now we are faced with a jail that will build for 36 inmates, and we have over 100 inmates in that jail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Frank Fox.
Welcome, Mr. Fox.
Chairman Dalton, members of the board, this is really a tale of 2 budgets. The school board had a $5 million windfall of unexpected state funds, which their budget is $5 million lower for the proposed budget. They put all that money in technology as that part of the budget, and so they apply that money and reduce their budget. The lower tax rate that's talked about in the proposed increase, which would be 45 cents, similar to what I talked about last week in Bedford County. The town of Chatham is going to do a lower tax rate. Our budget is up 10%. $8.3 million in new real estate taxes is our windfall, and we're applying that to the budget and spending it rather than reducing the rate. And without going into all the details of the budget, we need to ask ourselves, some of these things in the budget, do we need to do them now? Or can some of these be scheduled in such a way that we're not doing everything now? Take, for example, 640, about putting service back in 640. 640's been out of business since 2020. 100 calls a year. None of the agencies covering it asked for this. The Fire and Rescue Commission didn't ask for this. Calculating the ambulance, the staff, and the refurbishment, we're talking about $1.3 million right there. Why can't we wait on that? Or why can't we address a grant? I'm a grant writer, I'm a consultant. I'd be happy to volunteer my services to the county to seek that as a grant rather than having spend it in the budget, as long as it's not interfering with any grants that individual agencies are seeking. We got a project fund for debt, even though the middle schools are coming off this year. Why do we need a project fund for debt now when we're just trying to settle debt? We have a capital outlay of $2.4 million over last year. Why can't we schedule that out better? We have $100,000 scheduled for reassessment. We're not doing a reassessment this year. Stuart had mentioned in the work session when the budget was presented that
30 seconds remaining.
The citizens want services. They expect services. So I'm going to ask, how many people in this room stand up if you want services that would be represented by 59 cents? How many people in this room came here to have whatever is necessary done to make the rate below 50s? Please stand up. Please read the room.
3
Thank
minutes
you.
is complete.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that's
Yeah.
all for that public hearing.
All right, thank you, Ms. McCluskey. All right, at 7:35 PM, I will close the public hearing on the county budget. Does anyone need a recess, or everybody good? All board members good?
Just keep rocking and rolling.
Move it on.
Good, just want to make sure. All right, we'll move to item 5C. At 7:35 PM, I'll open the public hearing for the proposed real property tax increase public hearing. Ms. McCloskey, do we have one signed up?
Yes, sir. Keith Reynolds.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Keith Reynolds. I live in the Callens-Gretna district. I'm 68 years old, and about 10 or 12 years ago, I borrowed about $500,000 and bought the family farm and put a poultry house up. Well, I'm in the short rows now. I'm just about to get it paid for. Well, when I retire and don't have any income coming in off of that, it ain't enough money to pay the taxes on it. I paid $2,469 in taxes for 6 months last year for the privilege of living in Pennsylvania County. I don't feel like I got my money's worth. Now, how in the world can a retired person pay the taxes on their property when they keep going up and up? You cannot rent your farm for enough money to pay the taxes on it. What are you going to do, sell it? I'm a third-generation farmer on this same land. I do not want to sell my farm to pay taxes. I do not. And the main reason that our property taxes and homes have gone up is for this casino over there. I think we all know that and believe it. What benefit is the county getting from this casino? Anything? Anybody? Anything? Why wasn't we included in getting some money from this casino? We got all the bad and none of the good. Now, I don't know. Our taxes have steadily increased. Steadily increased. Not just county taxes, but federal taxes. Everything's gone up. We can't do it. We cannot do it. Now, I know several of these board members here ran on the deal that we're not going to raise taxes. Mr. Bowman, no, I will not raise taxes. Mr. Ingram, I will not vote for any tax increase. Mr. Tucker, I will not increase taxes. Mr. Dudley, I'm a Republican, and we don't believe in tax increases. Mr. Whittle, I don't support raising taxes. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Lowering the rate and still an increase in the value of it, that's a tax increase.
30 seconds remaining.
Don't sit up here and tout that we lowered the rate, and I got to write a check for a whole lot more at the end of the year to pay my taxes. Don't pee down my neck and tell me it's raining. Y'all can lower it much lower than 50, much lower than 45 that you talked about. Let's set a trend here and cut it where I write a smaller check. How about that?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Michael Ingram.
Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Gentlemen, my name is Michael Ingram. I'm the president of Ingram and Scott Incorporated. We're out of Henry County, but we decided to look at Pennsylvania
Sir,
County.
would you bring your mic up so we can hear you better? Thank you.
We decided that we'd look at Pennsylvania County for the development of properties, and based on you all's decision tonight, we will have to certainly reevaluate it. You all got the toughest job in the world. Y'all have got to make a decision on 48,596 properties. 7 gentlemen, y'all let that absorb a minute. And then when you took the lowered tax rate down to 59 cents and you against the assessed value, which was a 14-cent effective rate increase, that's 33%. And as the former gentleman says, that's $8.2 million. And I'm not sure we can withhold that. And with a budget of $239 million, one area I like to look at is schools. One of your fine schools over here at Tunstall, I was by there the other day, and this young gentleman was driving a brand new 2024 Eldorado Cadillac and went to school, and the whole hillside was cars. And then the parents are bringing them. So you all really need to do a study on the effectiveness of school buses. I think you can eliminate a third of them. And because on pupil transportation, you're looking at $7.2 million. And I think it's some things y'all can really evaluate. But in summation, you all represent 45,098 voters. Please make the right decision. And as a consultant of 40 years, I do a lot of flying. And from Philadelphia to Florida, when I come over the great state of Virginia, and when I look at Pennsylvania County, you all are sitting on a gold mine. And what are you doing about it? What are you really doing about a gold mine? 3,200 acres right now pad ready, approximately 375 acres are pad ready. It ought to be 1,000. Get the bulldozers out and get going. If you need some help, let me know. And please go up to Henry County, your sister county. They've been 7 years, and they only have 750 acres. But they got 2 major companies already working on the third one. Do the homework and emphasize economic development instead of tax increases. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Danny Alverson.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome, my new representatives, I think.
Can you get to the mic, sir, so they can hear you good?
Get in front of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need the outside people to hear you. That's,
I was just welcoming new representatives and glad they're here. My name's Danny Alverson. I'm from the Westover District. I'm glad we finally got a board that can get along and agree. The most important item this year for the board is the new real estate tax. I am thankful our tax rate is going down, but is it? There are 3 main parts to a multiplication sentence: a multiplier, a multiplicand, and a product. Although the multiplier may be going down, the multiplicand went up. But not just up, it increased on average of 53%. This means the product increased dramatically.
which will have a detrimental financial impact on all citizens during the time when we are struggling to adjust to an out-of-control inflation and in an election year. There have been previous comments made by board members, such as Mr. Height. We need to always examine our budget carefully and make the tax burden on the citizen as small as possible. Mr. Bowman said a tax increase at this time will have yes, sir, thank you, financial impact on the citizens during a time when everyone is struggling to adjust to our uncontrolled inflation. Mr. Tucker simply said, I would not support a tax increase. Mr. Ingram said, I would not vote for a tax increase because we're already taxed too much. There are other options within county government. Mr. Whittle said, I don't support raising taxes. I believe that working with Danny Marshall and Governor Youngkin to fill in the industrial park with higher paying jobs that would add to our tax base. I, like Mr. Ingram and Mr. Whittle, believe that there are other options. But here we are tonight discussing this very thing, higher taxes. Personally, I'm disappointed, very disappointed. Not sure who the board represents right now. Does it represent Ms. Vanderhyde?
30 seconds remaining.
Mr. Terrell. In this meeting, this very meeting tonight, it seemed to be a secret. We had all kinds of opportunities at the last meeting, line item 14, that 7 board members chose not to talk about the meeting tonight. We talked about VDOT projects and VDOT meetings, but we didn't talk about this meeting. As my original statement, I'm glad we have a board that can come together and agree.
3 minutes is complete.
But agreeing to hide or not communicate the important meetings such as this is very unprofessional and very disappointing. I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
John O'Mara.
Okay.
John O'Mara, Gretna. You know, as a newcomer to Virginia, and I've only been here since August, this whole process confuses me because what I've discerned from this is that the county staff, and I'm not sure about the board of directors, view a reassessment as a financial windfall. And the fact of the matter is, a reassessment should be revenue neutral. The numerator stays the same, the denominator goes way up, the tax rate goes way down. And in this budget, I think in order for the reassessment to be revenue neutral, that tax rate needs to be at about 40 cents. And if you approve a tax rate in excess of 40 cents, then you are voting to increase taxes. On my own personal situation, I live in a 573 square foot home in Gretna. My assessed valuation went up by 100%, which means that even if the tax rate stayed at 40 cents per hundred, my taxes are doubling. And all this is happening while the population of the county is declining by at least 5.7% over the last number of years. And something else that's very concerning is, for example, and I'm not picking on anybody, but we are proposing to add 4 or 5 new police officers or sheriff's deputies. But when I looked at the crime statistics, there's an absolute trend, and Crime is down by 18%, but we need more police. Not only that, but we need a new jail, and the jail can't look like a jail, it's got to look like a community college campus. Now, if you folks don't see anything wrong with that, I don't know what to say. But I think the reality is, if this proposed tax increase was put to a vote by the taxpayers, it would be a resounding no. And I would like to see the Commissioner of the Revenue, who is a member of the Virginia Association of Commissioners of Revenue, work cooperatively with other commissioners to work with the state legislature to change how this whole process works. Because if I understand it correctly, as long as the budget doesn't go up by more than 1%, you don't even need a hearing. If it goes up by more than 1%, then you need a public hearing. And what I think would be very beneficial to everybody would be that if the budget is proposed to increase by more than the consumer price index in any given year, that there be a vote of the citizens. Because the truth is, the citizens of Pittsylvania County will not approve a tax increase like what's been proposed. And with that, that's really all I have to say, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. O'Mara.
John Owen.
Oh, yeah. All right, welcome, Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. My name's John Owen, by the way, Calhoun-Gretna District. I'd like to go off this for just a second. I'd like to congratulate the board for our broadband. This has been the greatest thing that happened to Pittsylvania County. Your partnership with River Street has worked out excellent. I was one of the first in the county to receive my broadband. I would urge all citizens, when you get an opportunity to sign up for it, the service is great. The speed is absolutely amazing. So thank you, gentlemen, for administration and the IT techs and everybody for the good job you've done. That being said, a 31.4% tax increase is absurd. You gentlemen said you wouldn't raise taxes, but here we are. All right, we know it's going to have to go up a little bit. 45 cents is reasonable. 59 cents is totally out of reason. We can't afford it. We don't need it. Cut the budget. One other thing I'd like to touch on is this jail. Apparently most of the people here don't know Pittsylvania County was given a jail, fully operational, fully furnished, 10 years ago. Department of Corrections kept it functional until it was turned over to the county. The Department of Transportation, who owned the property, deeded it to the county. The county kept it a few months, said, we don't need it, and gave it back. And now you want to spend $62 million. Something's wrong with that picture. Because it was a 102-bed detention facility. So let's get off the jail, quit throwing money at it. Either that or put it out for a referendum, let the voters turn it down now, and we can have it over with. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
George Williams.
Welcome, sir.
George Williams, I'm living in the Westover District, and I've been a resident here for 2 years now. Just very brief, because I think most previous speakers have already covered everything I was going to say. So we'll just say this. You've got a 62-cent tax rate. You're wanting to cut it to 59. That's a 5% decrease. According to the paper, you've got a budget increase for the year that it's just under 3%. That's a 40% windfall. Now, I think that there wouldn't be anybody in this room that would not love a 40% windfall in their income. Simple as that. And that's really all I've got to say, and I'll leave you with two words. Just as Mr. O'Mara just said just a few moments ago, revenue neutral. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ronnie Cook.
Welcome, Mr. Cook.
Hey, Ronnie.
Ronnie Cook, Callens-Gretna District. Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We all know there's been 2 assessments done for Pittsylvania County. They've occurred during non-typical circumstances due to COVID, inflation, etc. But having seen the results, I have a couple of points to make. First, I believe somewhat of a paintbrush approach was taken to the assessment. To explain, I know in years past, some property values were lower in the system than maybe could be sold for, which could be a negative when selling, but a plus when paying taxes. 7 years ago, I built a new house, and the value was placed in the system was basically the cost that I paid for it to build it. When I received my reassessment information, the value goes up 55%, very similar to other properties that may have been lower in the system. There's no way my current house has increased this much in value in that short time frame compared to properties that may have been undervalued in just 7 years and arrive at a similar percent increase. This leads to paintbrush value increase on properties versus gathering all the facts and providing accurate assessments. Next thing, most important on this issue and what can be done to offset the property value increases is adjusting the rate in the system down to a reasonable level, and you control that. No one probably cares if the value of their property increases as long as you adjust the rate to offset the value increase or keep it in check. The bottom line is that this conversation is about additional money that comes out of our pockets. No one likes paying taxes, especially taxes on the same purchase or property over and over, but in our current system, it's a fact of life that we must live with. I feel that everyone would somewhat agree that controlled increases are to be expected from time to time, and although it's proposed at this time and not set, to present the citizens of this county with a proposed increase of this magnitude is outrageous. What if every bill you get went up that much at one time? The simple fact is that one such increase can force some folks to have to choose whether to buy medicine or groceries. Last, at the end of the day, you hold the key. Our property values may have increased, but you can adjust the rate to offset those increases to a reasonable level that folks can live with. I saw just the other day on the news, and not exactly sure if I captured it all correctly, but Franklin County had a similar assessment, and I believe it said property values went up 40% or 47% or so on average. Their existing rate was 61 cents per hundred, and they were proposing a 45% per hundred increase. Still a healthy increase to the taxpayer, but when I saw
30 seconds remaining.
When I saw the proposal of dropping our rate from 62 cents to 59 cents, with our property values going up similar or more than they did in Franklin County, you can imagine the thoughts. I've spoken to my representative, and I know they understand what needs to be done, so I trust that at least the majority of you will see it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Jim Scares.
Welcome, Mr. Scarce.
Good evening. My name's Jim Scarce. I live in the Westover District. Why do we find ourselves in this situation? Part of it is because we lost one of our financial gurus from this board, Bob Warren. He was the one that balanced the budget last year, not this man. He doesn't have a clue. He was completely incompetent with it last year and ran to Bob for help. And now we think he's able to do it? I think not. So why do we find ourselves in this situation? Back in 2000, we had an assessment, a reassessment. That reassessment cost us $2.5 million. $2.5 million. It came back with an assessment on our properties of a 38% raise across the board. But one member of this board so maligned that company and got the public so against that company that they screened for it to be thrown out, that the numbers were too high. So they threw it out. So what they do, they bring another company in, pay another $2 million for another assessment. So now we have this new company comes in and our property rates go up 59% across the board. That's why we're in this position, because we had inept leadership in 2021 that talked the public into throwing out that assessment. We could have had a 38% raise in our property taxes, but no, we've got a 59% now. So that's why we're in this position. And to answer this man's question about why we're not getting anything from the casinos, that's because Danny Marshall promised us that we would get 1% if we got on board with their casino project. This board made a resolution saying that they agreed with the city's economic development project. When the city found out that we were getting 1% of their cut, they raised such a stink that when Danny got to Richmond, he pulled it out. And then threw it out on Joe Davis, saying that Joe Davis said, we don't want anything to do with it. Well, let's get the truth out there and quit telling the lies. A certain member of this board cost us $2.5 million in 2021. That's why we're in this situation. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Vanessa Scares.
Welcome, Ms. Cash.
Thank you. My name is Vanessa Scares, and I live in the Westover District. Well, here we are at the meeting that did not even need to take place if you had implemented the 1% increase that citizens were told to expect. Hope you're enjoying it. I was just talking the other night with a friend about how much simpler times were in the days of Mr. Dan Daniel, the gentleman from the South Side, who was a conservative Democrat. Imagine that. Legislators were able to talk through issues with the good of all citizens in mind. Right or left, Democrat or Republican, those things didn't mean anything more than what was morally right for the majority of the citizens, or even for the individual representative himself. No hidden agendas, no special interest, except the citizens. It's time for you to roll up your sleeves and meet with each county department head and examine the budget and trim the fat. Put the citizens first. After all, they're the ones that provide the tax revenue. All the other details I had, people have already hit on. But I took a look at the budget and just in no time at all found an easy way to reduce it by 4 cents. So I truly believe that y'all can work hard for the people that elected you and come back to the table with a rate that begins with the number 4. I mean, even if it's the 49 cents. But the sad reality is, even if you do that, you're not doing what you said you were going to do. Everybody's been highlighting how you said no tax increase. It's been said that, from this forum, we were told to expect a 1% increase. Really, what you've done is erode the faith of the citizens of our system. And when citizens lose faith in the system and stop participating, we end up with exactly what you see here in our country. It looks less and less like a democratic republic every day, doesn't it? Look around. If you like what you see, keep doing what you're doing. If you don't, I challenge you, be the change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Mathlery.
Welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Steve Mathway. I reside in Chatham Blairs. My intention is to provide information to you that should prove beneficial in helping you make a wise and fair tax decision for the citizens of this county. I recommend you adopt a real estate tax rate no higher than 46 cents per hundred, and I will support my recommendations as follows. We are a poor county. 14.4%, that is 8,578 of our citizens live at or below the poverty level. The current poverty level is $15,000 a year. 25%, or 14,892 of our citizens are over the age of 65, and 13% of that figure have some type of disability. The median income in Pennsylvania County is $52,619, and the median value of an owner-occupied house is $144,100. However, when you add 48% to the value of that home is now worth $213,268. Of the 5 counties surrounding Pennsylvania County, the county with the highest tax in all cases is Pennsylvania County. Last week, I spoke with a representative from the Treasurer's Office and the Commissioner of Revenue's office in Bedford County, Campbell, Franklin, Halifax, and Henry. Prior to the recommendation to lower the real estate to 59 cents per hundred, Pennsylvania County had the highest real estate tax, the highest personal property tax, even with paying only 60% of the $9 per hundred rate, and that rate is twice any other county, and the maximum amount allowed by law for the vehicle license fee of $40.75. That's the old decal fee. There is a $120 annual fee to dump your trash, and if you use gas or electricity for your lights, each of those has a $3 monthly utility tax that goes to the general fund in the county. There is a 1% school tax, a 4% transient tax, and Pennsylvania County was tied with 2 other counties with a 6% meal tax. Halifax County has already announced they will not seek an increase in their real estate rate of 50 cents per hundred, and Franklin County,
30 seconds
who had
remaining.
a 47% increase in real estate values during their recent reassessment, proposed lowering their real estate tax from 61 per hundred to 45 cents per hundred. I encourage each of you to strongly consider the information I have provided in making your decision and adopt a real estate tax rate no higher than 46 cents per hundred. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mallory.
Irvin Moss.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Moss.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Irvin Moss. I'm 67-year-old resident of the Vandola Road community in the Westover district. I'd like to share a couple of words with you from Daniel Webster. He writes, integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral and uprightness. Honesty, the quality of being honest, free of deceit and untruthfulness, sincere. Reason I'm asking this, gentlemen, I'm confused. I took time last night to reread the platforms each of you ran on. 6 out of the 7 people ran on a platform of no new taxes. We will not raise taxes. But instead of sitting at home eating dinner with my family, here we are because you guys want to raise taxes. I don't get it. I really don't. I look at our county. I live in the Berry Hill Vandola community. I travel that area 3 or 4 times per week. I look at that mega park. What is it, 12, 13, 14 years now? I can't even find a Dollar General there. Money after money is being spent, no results. Another case in point, we've got a mega city going up in Axton. Wonder how much that's going to cost the county. I wonder. A gentleman said a while ago, too many people are looking at the casino. And I tend to agree with you. Everybody's got money in their eyes. Everybody wants more money. I got a question for you. I'm retired on a fixed income. Where am I going to get any more money to pay these outlandish taxes? Am I getting a raise? Am I getting a 48% raise on what I'm getting? Am I going to lose a family farm because I can't pay the taxes? I don't understand. This is not a rich county. We struggle to make ends meet. But yet, in this failing
30 seconds
economy,
remaining.
in this stagnant economy, in this unsure economy, you guys are sticking it to us again. I mean, I'm sorry. I hate to dwell on the negatives, but I'm just speaking the truth. My dad told me, he said, son, if you want to get out of debt, quit spending money. That'll get you out of debt quicker than anything you can do. And
3 minutes is
have a
complete.
good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Joshua Jennings.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Board.
Evening, Ms. Jennings.
I live in the Chatham Blair's district. I'm also a landowner in the Tunstall district. I'm here to basically protest a 59-cent tax rate. According to State Code 58.1-3321, the required drop would be approximately 20 cents. So we're telling us that 59 cents, well, we're just going to drop 3-4 cents and that's going to be great. Well, that's actually 17 cents higher than where it should be, as I understand it. I'm not saying that an increase is not warranted. I know y'all have probably the hardest job in the county right now trying to figure out what's essential and what's not. The question we have to ask ourselves is, in this uncertain economy, and I'm seeing it business-wise and with my family, and I'm sure every other business owner in Pennsylvania County is seeing the same, there's a lack of disposable income across the board at current. The fewer customers, smaller purchases, smaller profits, and taxation is certainly something that's going to touch every household in this community. Consider also that we have one of the highest inventory tax rates in this state, as I understand it, $9 per $100 assessed value and then the percentage thereof. We really cannot afford to go too high at this point because you're going to run off the people that are already here. Now, I don't know if that is the end game that's being desired. I mean, we want to keep all of our residents and see growth rather than loss. We also don't want to see businesses go, and as the gentleman that runs the farm stated, at some point it may be more expensive to pay the taxes than it would be to sell. These are great questions, and I'm going to encourage each of you fellows to sit down and look at each department, each line item, to say, is this actually something that is required? Is this something that we need to expand at this time, or do we need to pull back? Every family currently in America is looking at how to make more with less, and many times we're coming up short even doing that. I'm asking this board to consider a much lower tax rate. Let's claw back a little bit more than just 17 cents of growth. I'm thinking 2 or 3, 4, 5 cents would be more than reasonable. God be with you as you make your decision. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, sir.
James Berger. Randy Owen.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome, Mr. Owen.
Good evening, fellas. Randy Owen, Westover District. Guys, I'm 39 years old. I'm disappointed that people my age and younger aren't packing this place here tonight. I can assure you we're paying attention. We're talking about what's going on. Our time's valuable. We're in the middle of our lives where we're chasing kids and working insane hours. So we don't have time necessarily for this right now, but we are watching. 3 years ago, I built a house. I was completing a home. During this process, I was fighting with the bank to get my appraisal up to make the numbers work for the mortgage. Now, since last year, my tax assessed value has gone up 147%, 1 year. I did some landscaping. Yeah, that's the only upgrade I've made to the house. This is insane. It really is. At a time where families have dealt with rising prices from a pandemic, then rolling into years of 30-year high inflation, cost of living has gone up nationally by 17.9% since 2021. How many people's income has risen that much? Probably not very many. Families have had to make cuts to budgets to make them work. That's all we ask of the county. Do the same. There's new members on this board this year. Is this the first piece of legislation or first rule that you want to sign your names to? Something that's already started a fire with constituents? We're fresh off an election cycle. How many of you guys ran campaigns on the promise of raising taxes? If you had ran campaigns on that, how many of you think you'd be sitting here today? I was handed this piece of paper when I walked in the room. These are y'all's words. If you guys mean this, what are we doing here? You're wasting everybody's time even being here. If this is true, it's not even vote for discussion. It should be squashed already. So either this is a bunch of lies or wasting everybody's time, one or the other. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no in-betweens about it. 59 cents is a joke from 62. That doesn't accomplish anything. Mid-40s seems to be the place where everybody wants. There's going to be news headlines that come out, local news outlets, over this decision, this vote. When those headlines come out, I hope they publish
30 seconds remaining.
right along with the headlines. I hope that when the headlines come out, that they can read that the elected officials kept their promises. Other than that, we got 4 years. We'll make some changes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Julie Griffin.
Welcome, ma'am.
I'm Julie. I get nervous. I'm Julie Griffin. I live in the Dan River District. I own a house in the city of Danville also. It's the house I grew up with. It was a Pennsylvania County house. It got annexed. All my neighbors jumped up and moved back to Pennsylvania County. In the last year, my assessment went up $2,100 for the Danville house. In the county where I live, the last assessment that they threw out, it went up $43,000. Now this year, it has went up $91,000, 76% raise. I live next to an unsavory source, some of you know, adjoining my property, like Mr. Cook said, a paintbrush assessment. I live next to an industrial landfill that is out of my control, and I see it as a property value decrease. But yet, we are here to say you can't take tit for tat. It don't come out even. It's not going to even out. So I'm just here. Economic growth is wonderful, but you need to think long and hard before you bring all of this into the community that most people move away from because they want to be in Pennsylvania County in a wholesome environment. But the outside factors are eventually going to creep out. We got people moving out of Ringgold because of the Tysons or other factors, landfills. All this in the middle of a neighborhood that, or these big mega home places, they want to stay wholesome and keep it the way it is. And that's one thing we come to y'all to ask y'all for, and plus be able to afford to be here in this county. Because we're here because we want to be here. Like I said, we got annexed. Half the neighborhood I grew up with sold their house and moved. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing. They're moving away from the growth that they didn't want to begin with. So when we come to you, we ask y'all to listen to us and what we want and what we need. And like everything else that's been said here tonight is pretty much
30 seconds remaining.
of what I had in mind, and I have learned a lot more tonight. So I guess we all need to do a little bit more investigation and a little bit more search within ourselves of what we want and what we expect of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Josh Austin.
Welcome, sir.
Just so y'all are all
Thank you.
on the same page, everybody else is out here, it appears that they read it. Josh Austin, Tunstall District.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yep, we good.
Good?
Good.
Okay. Everybody kind of went over what I had brought to make sure that everybody was aware of the words that they gave in their platforms. So I'm going to bypass that because now it's in front of you. You can read it for yourself. I will give two gentlemen on the board. Stay. I had congratulations or whatever, however you want to look at it, because one was Mr. Dudley, and you did not say that you would not vote for a tax increase, but you would definitely look at what needed to be done. Thank you for being honest. Mr. Height, I'll give you the same credit, because you said you would take into account what needed to be done, and we all understand that there's times are hard all across the board. But I want to go back to something else that was in that same Star Tribune publication of the responses to the public questions from the Pennsylvania County Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Height, you put in here that I have spent over 38 years working in the financial sector, and I have a good grasp on the financial side of the county operations. I'm not even going to begin to read Mr. Bowman's resume here that he put in. Mr. Tucker, I have over 25 years of management, sorry y'all, I left my glasses, 25 years of management experience in the business sector. Stand for fiscal responsibility, which includes balancing budget and protecting taxpayer money. And so not to show preferential treatments, I went back to the 2021 forum also. What are your qualifications for board supervisors? What issue or policy position would you be best difference between you and your opponent? Mr. Dalton stated that knowledge of local county government and daily operations, strong communication skills, and prepared and managed county budgets, 31 plus years of government experience.
30 seconds remaining.
He also stated that he wants to control wasteful spending and use taxpayers' money wisely. So, gentlemen, it's been said over and over tonight. Y'all made promises when you ran. There's been a lot of input out here tonight, and I hope that this board
3
does better
minutes is
than the last
complete.
board about listening to what you heard out here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Brandon Robertson.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Brandon Robertson, Westover District. Just like to say, Mr. Owen, you want to know where, I'm 46, you want to know where everybody's at right now probably? They're working a second job probably. Or they're working some overtime. Last year, gentlemen, I grossed, now I didn't look at what I actually took home pay. I made an extra $30,000 last year at my job. And I'm still having some trouble figuring out where the money is going in my personal budget. And I pay my bills. Now, some of it, I give to my kids to help them because my son, one of them, went to welding school. The median job for welding is very underpaid in this area. He's having a hard time finding work, so he has to work down in North Carolina, okay? Mr. Ingram, Henry County, correct? He's talking about reassessing, expanding business operations in this county. What does that mean? I'm under the mindset that you can make the slice of the pie a little bigger, okay? Have more businesses come into this county, and also have people move into this county to pay the bills, if it's a fair tax. But if it's an unfair tax, I want you to look at, I know this is more national, but look at California. Look at New York. Florida's growing like mad. Texas is growing. Now, I don't know what their taxes are, but it's a whole lot less in California and New York. U-Haul, Ryder, all these rental companies, they having a windfall of money, people escaping the high taxes. As Mr. Jim Scares spoke about earlier, we got a lot of money. I'm talking in the millions coming into this county. Millions. I don't know about you, but I like for everybody to stand up. Just hear me out. If you pay your taxes, I'm not saying sometimes you get a little behind, but you pay your taxes on time. Is anybody in here delinquent? You can stay seated. I don't want to embarrass
30
you.
seconds remaining.
Y'all stand up. If you're paying your taxes on time, stand up. Thank y'all. If this is such a high priority, then let's do the Democrat thing, the true Democrat thing. I know we're a constitutional republic. I'm not going to get on that bandwagon right now. I'll be here all night. But if you want a pure Democratic vote,
3 minutes is complete.
set this up for a referendum vote this November and find out what your citizens want. If you don't, some of y'all are going to be looking for a new job. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Kathy Hodges was not here at the time that the sign-up sheet was down there. She would like to speak if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's fine. Welcome, Ms. Hodges.
Welcome, Ms. Hodges.
We have a 3-minute time limit, so thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your letting me speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I am Kathy Hodges, and I live in the Stanton River District. I've been a lifetime resident of Pittsylvania County and was currently a county employee. I taught in this county for many years. Then I worked in the city of Danville, and I just recently retired from Franklin County government. So I want to thank you, first of all, for the job you do, because I know the job you have is not easy. It's very challenging. But I hope you do listen to the people who are here to speak tonight. I know the recent reassessment I was quite shocked at because our property went up 56%. We only have 4 acres, and we've got a 32-year-old house with a 31-year-old roof on it. We recently had an estimate for a roof. It's going to be $20,000. And then when I asked when they came on our property to do the assessment, they never came on our property because I went to appeal the estimate of 56%. So without even coming on the property, it went up 56%, and they never even saw the property. And no improvements had been made, believe me, because we need the roof. We just hadn't had the money for it yet. So anyway, some suggestions I would have to offset this increase, ways to bring back more revenue. I know that we get garbage from several surrounding counties, and we get revenue from those surrounding localities. I didn't agree with that idea because I know the replacement of a landfill sale is about $5 to $6 million. So when we bring in everybody else's trash, how long is it going to take us to fill up our landfill? However, since we have this revenue, I propose doing away with the trash tax of $120. That would help every taxpayer if you do away with that $120 trash tax. Most counties in our region range, as people have said earlier, from 45 cents and up. And it is my request that this board please look at reducing this tax rate to the 45 cents. At least then we might be able to continue to pay our taxes, just like these folks stood up with me and said we pay our taxes on time every year. We need citizens to pay these taxes. We are a rural community. We are not a rich community. We are not a Northern Virginia. We are average, hardworking people, and I'm just recently retired, so I can join some of these folks and say I'm on a fixed income. My husband's been telling me that for 3 years now. But anyway, even with medications and the things that
30 seconds remaining.
that I have to buy, I know what a challenge it is with the way health care coverage is and prescription drug benefit coverage is now. And someone mentioned, the revenue from the pipeline project, the solar power that's come to the county, and also the broadband project. And this is additional revenue that we need to capitalize on and take it off of the back of the taxpayers. Inflation is facing all of us, and you know it when you go to the grocery store as well as I do.
3 minutes is complete.
Thank you for hearing me, and please hear our request.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr.
Is that all?
Chairman.
Okay. At 8:31 p.m., I'll close the public hearing for the tax increase. All right, with that,